Welcome, everybody, to today's session. We're just going to let people start to file in here. We have a really exciting presentation for everybody. We're going to spice up your CI strategy. We've got 20 AI recipes for crafting a five-star compete program. So everyone grab their chef hat because we're gonna cook up some AI, cook up some AI recipes. There's gonna be a lot of cooking puns and themes throughout, so just be prepared. Again, everybody, welcome to today's session. We're gonna spice up your CI strategy and go through 20 recipes to craft a five-star compete program. My name is Shil Lehar. I'm the VP of Content Marketing here at Crayon. For those of you who may not be familiar with Crayon, we're a competitive enablement platform. So we help B2B companies just win more competitive deals. Our mission is to really help companies compete better. And I'm going to be joined today by John White, who's our Senior Vice President of Product, and Shannon DeMarco, who's our Marketing Manager also at Crayon. Thanks for joining, everyone. Just before we jump into the content, I do want to give a few housekeeping items. So, yes, this session is going to be recorded. Everyone is going to get a copy of this recording via email after this session. So if you need to drop for any reason, no worries, you'll get the recording. What we're also going to send everybody is, as a follow-up piece, is a recipe book. So as Shannon goes through 20 of these recipes, no need to worry about, am I going to get the slides? Am I going to, need to screenshot? We are going to capture all of the awesome use cases and send it to everybody via email. So you'll have lots of great content for you to get cooking with AI. And then let's just jump in to the agenda. So I'm going to cover a little bit on AI and compete, and then Shannon's going to jump into those recipes like we talked about. We'll get cooking. We'll teach everyone hopefully how to use AI better in their compete programs. And then John White is going to talk about Sparks. So Sparks is our AI research and analysis tool. We've got lots of cool product updates to share with everybody. So he'll go through that. And then we're going to save some time at the end for a Q&A. So if you have questions throughout this session, just throw them in that Q&A box. You'll see that in the toolbar there, and we'll get to as many of those as we can. All right, so before we jump into the recipes, I just wanted to give a little context, maybe level set a little bit. Every year here at Crayon, we do a big state of competitive intelligence report. So we put out a survey, we ask product marketers, we ask compete pros, we ask sales enablement leaders, everything about how they're running their compete programs. And from that, we put together this research report. This is actually the 8th year we're doing that. It's filled with benchmarks, trends, lots of really great content. So what was interesting is that last year we started to add questions that were about AI. So as everybody started talking about ChatGPT and how we are all going to use AI at work, we decided it was definitely time to pull all of our survey, add it to our survey and pull folks and ask how they're using AI in their own compete programs. So what I thought I would do, the report is not actually out yet, but what I wanted to do is just give everyone a sneak preview of some of the survey findings. So I've started to dig into these a little bit. I don't think anything is too surprising here, but I do think it's kind of cool to see how we're all using AI and adapting to AI is again, as part of our compete program. So the first question we ask is, do you use AI to assist you with your CI responsibilities? Not surprising here, a big jump from 25% to 44% said, yes, I do use AI. So I'm actually not quite sure who that 19% is who are still just like not with it and not using AI. But not surprising, again, we saw a jump in folks who said, yes, I'm using AI now in my day-to-day job. We also asked people, how often do you use AI tools? So I think in 2024, we can see last year, some folks were using it every day, and I think more folks were sort of dabbling. So we had people using it monthly. You can see in 2025, or a lot of folks are using it every day or weekly. So just a big jump there as well. It's just part of our routines now, right? It's part of what we're doing every single day. And then the third question that we ask in the survey that I'm going to talk about is if CI could automate one part of your job, which would you pick? And so I think what's kind of interesting here is that last year it was all about just collecting data. It was using AI just to get the data. And now many more folks are talking about using AI to analyze intel, right? So we saw that jump from 26% to 36%. You all want AI to be analyzing that compute data, as well as create content. And I think that's where we're all headed, and that's what we're all seeing in some of these AI tools. So hopefully that gives you just, again, a quick overview into how companies are starting to use AI more. And just look forward to the research report because there's more where that came from. But again, I just wanted to give a quick overview and share some of the data that we have there. From here, I'm going to pass things over to Shannon, and she's going to start going through those AI recipes with everybody.
Awesome. Thank you, Sheila. Well, I am so excited to get to chat with everybody today. Like Sheila said, my name is Shannon DeMarco. I am helping with marketing here, but originally at Crayon, I was focused on onboarding our customers and helping them reach success. And over the last year, as we've seen an increase in AI, we've gotten a lot more questions about how to start leveraging it in your workflow. Let's just say with the AI features that we are seeing come out, the ones that Crayon has invested in, we've made it so that all of our customers and potential customers have the ingredients, but there was still no recipe to follow. So it's kind of what we're hoping to show you today. Even if you're brand new to using AI or you're learning about prompt engineering, this is going to be an awesome opportunity for you to kind of get a sense for how much you can actually accomplish with some different AI recipes. The recipes I'm going to show you in the slides actually came from our AI toolkit here. This is something we built, again, trying to contribute to the larger AI conversation and make sure that whether you're a Crayon customer or not, you see the different applications. So you'll get the recording of this session. You'll also get the amazing cookbook, but I think it's important to know you can always access the AI toolkit on our website. So if you see anything that you love today, you can go look it up right away and start to follow the prompts as well. This AI toolkit is not only just created by the Crayon team, it's also been helped come to creation with our customers. And we even have customers submitting their own use cases so we can see how they're actually applying AI in their workflows. So come check out the AI toolkit, but let's go ahead and get cooking with the specific recipes I'm going to show you today. So I decided to bucket these. So all of the 20 plus recipes that I'm going to mention today, I've bucketed into these 5 different categories, starting out with competitive analysis. Now, we know that the analysis, and to Sheila's point with the report, the analysis is kind of the first piece of using AI for your competitive workflow. And so when we are addressing this with those customers and potential customers using it, we always like to start with some of the broad analysis that you can get done. So first one I love to call out is actually web page insights. We know that your competitors are changing their websites, they're making adjustments to their packaging, or maybe they're slipping in something new in those terms and conditions. Sometimes those little breadcrumbs can lead to a massive change in their positioning or competitive strategy. So a lot of times when the goal is to understand what those small breadcrumbs mean, using a prompt like this one, as well as data like the pages being added or the page being removed, can be really beneficial as you're starting to learn about what these moves mean for your competitor. The prompt for this particular type of AI recipe is by picking the websites that you want to go ahead and analyze, and then a prompt like this. Identify the most frequently updated topics or content categories on this competitor's website over the past 6 months and tell me about their key strategic priorities. Here, by calling out not just the goal of finding out what the main topics are, but also giving it a clear timeline allows for an analysis that's going to give you a really clear output. At the end of the day, when you are analyzing a competitor's web pages, this is going to cater to so many different teams within your organization. So your sales leaders and your sellers are going to benefit from understanding that competitive strategy, as well as your marketing and product team, so they can adjust and make sure that they're continuing to differentiate their own website. Now, with this prompt and using our Sparks feature, we actually got a really fantastic output about MailChimp's website updates. And I wanted to highlight the fact that we are able to see really nuanced changes. So something like they're expanding in their SMS marketing and they are expanding their onboarding and user experience, or at least they're focusing more there with the website changes that they've recently done. This is going to be really beneficial for those audiences I mentioned before, and it's going to allow you to dig deeper into those competitor web page changes. Now, in addition to web page insights, some other common use cases we're seeing for more of those like broad competitive analysis are hiring trend monitoring. So getting a sense for how frequently they are putting new jobs up, what those jobs tend to entail, if there's any region specific type things, or even sometimes the type of role can indicate changes to their product strategy or internal teams, all sorts of stuff. In addition, a classic pricing and packaging analysis can be huge, especially as you're starting to really understand how you compete with these other companies. We all know that pricing can sometimes be a tricky thing to pin down about your competitors. So being able to pull from a variety of data sources like customer reviews or even just full on their web page, it's going to be able to give you that information. A couple others are like product roadmap predictions. So getting a sense for what the themes or common topics that their product team has been focused on in the past, which is then going to allow you to think about what might be coming down the pipe in the future. And then last, understanding the competitive share of voice, like how frequently are they in the news? How often are they posting blogs? You can really get a sense for how a company is allocating their resources by how they tend to show up across the board in all of the different like web activity. Now, competitive analysis is the foundation of your compete workflow, but company strategy can also be a really crucial pillar in your program. This is going to make sure that it allows you to not just enable your sellers and win more deals, but also include other stakeholders like leadership, executives, and dig a little bit deeper for your company as well. Now, the one that I'm seeing a lot of customers really benefit from is the ability to identify new competitors through, again, this online activity. Within Crayon, we're able to use data like closed, like win-loss interviews. We're seeing field intel come in, and then basic things like news and social media. But by tracking these and starting to see the trends and what new names are coming up, what companies are getting talked about, how are they getting talked about, a company that might have been an ankle biter or not really a true competitor in your industry might shift and change, and you are able, through AI and a prompt like this one, to stay ahead of the curve there. Now, for this particular prompt, we do use a wide variety of data, like I mentioned, and the prompt is analyze recent news articles, press releases, and social media activity to identify new competitors entering the market. Summarize their key attributes, including product focus, market positioning, and any trends or patterns in their activity. Now, as that prompt can be run, whether you're using Crayon or ChatGPT, you're going to be able to start to see some really interesting insights. And it might even form some of your own product and company strategies. Here you can see the output came up with 5 different companies that might be a competitor with this particular data set. And then they summarized it as well. So we were able to kind of get a sense for not only what are these new companies, but what are they saying? What makes the big difference? How are they standing out? In addition to a prompt like this one, some of the other use cases more on the company strategy, like your organization type ones. So summaries of those big events. We all know it. We've seen our competitors host these big, flashy buzzword type events, but we really have no idea what actually happened with all of these speeches and talks. And so being able to analyze the content coming out of an event like that can really help you sort of synthesize what actually took place without you having to buy a ticket and go. In addition to that, something like market recognition or thought leadership, when you start seeing badges go up on their website or awards, it's going to help you understand as a company or a competitor where are they trying to be thought leaders and how exactly are you guys competing in that realm. Another piece is the merger and acquisition trends, as well as like the forecasting that can come from them. We all know these mergers and acquisitions can sometimes be a very long process. And so if you have a sense of things like that going on, you can start running prompts and get an idea of what that merger or acquisition might look like in the long run. And then lastly, a favorite of ours is reviewing the customer reviews that come in, whether it's G2 or Trustpilot, giving you the ability to really sync up with the voice of the customer, whether it's positive or negative sentiment. You can start to see trends there. People complaining about some support, people upset about pricing. You can really gather a lot from the customer reviews that are available for your competitors. Now, moving into another really important section to think about as you're introducing AI into your competitive workflow is the competitive selling. So the prompts I'm going to show you are really to help your team handle objections, analyze the wins and losses that they've had, and continue to refine their approach. The first one here is our win-loss analysis. So ideally, the goal here is to really identify like what are the key factors behind both your wins and your losses. Within Crayon, the data that we use for these are gong call clips. So we're able to actually look at the transcription of competitor mentions on your call and help you analyze across a wide range of different types of data and filters as well. In addition, things like pulling from your CRM, Salesforce, and other things like closed win-loss interviews and field intelligence coming straight from your teams, pulling all of that information and then running a prompt like this, describe the key themes that are driving competitive wins and losses for this competitor. It's such a simple prompt, but we see so many of our customers running a prompt like this each day and really digging into what is popping up for this competitor? What are these pain points that our prospects are feeling? How can our team continue to adjust and be better equipped to handle whether it's objections or any other major points that come up on calls? We're seeing a lot of our customers do a prompt like this on a very consistent basis. So week over week, they're able to see, hey, there was some struggle with this objection in the last month or so, but ever since we found that out and we updated our battle cards and we've made sure to incorporate a talk track, we're seeing that that has become less of an issue. So consistently looking at the organizational data that you have can be a great use for a prompt like this one. Some other, here is the actual output of this one. So in the prompt itself, it asks to break down those wins and losses. And here we can see those main pieces and then sort of a summary of what keeps happening and how it should be addressed in the future. Some additional use cases specifically for competitive selling are identifying those objections. Again, this is going to help you make sure you have a talk track that is not only relevant to what's happening within your calls, but data backed. And so you're able to come and look at those numbers over time and really understand where those objections have come from and how you can be better equipped to handle them. Customer migration pain points was provided to our AI toolkit by a wonderful customer of ours. They were talking to customers when they did actually move to their company and really starting to understand why they made that choice and what those pain points were. And that wasn't just helping their sellers, that informed their product strategy. Their marketing team started to understand that. It became like such an important part of her workflow. A broad stroke one here, but sales calls analysis. So here, the original prompt was looking at win-loss analysis. So we're talking your specific opportunities and deals that are in progress. The sales call analysis can look at all of your calls. So you're sitting there looking at what's working, what's not, and it gives you the ability to get a big picture look of the team's performance on whether it's an opportunity or just a discovery call. It's an opportunity for you to dig deeper there. And then last, every team loves an opportunity to kind of pat themselves on the back and enjoy some of the successes they've had. And we're seeing a lot of people use a prompt in Sparks that's building out like a really wonderful spotlight on recent wins. And it gives them an opportunity to really highlight the strengths of a call and maybe why a customer chose to go with them. It's a fun prompt to use because everyone likes a pat on the back. All right, moving out of sort of this analysis piece and more into the content creation. This was another area where, to Sheila's stats from the competitive state of CI, we're seeing more and more people use AI. And originally it was for that analysis. And now the shift is happening where we want to pull it in for content creation and actually start building with the information we have, including those analyses. So for this first one is all about focusing on your dynamic battle card update. So making sure that as you are creating competitive content and working with your teams, you're pulling in all sorts of different data that can help you build out, whether it's objection handling, talk tracks, or landmines to plant. A prompt like this can be huge as you're starting to whether you're building your battle cards from scratch or it's time for you to refresh those battle cards, making sure that they're staying up to date, relevant, and convey confidence to your team about the content within them is gonna help you be successful in the long run. So for this particular prompt, making sure that we're updating our battle card, we used a variety of data types because honestly, what a company puts out there, whether it's a blog post or a G2 review from a customer, it's all the big picture of what's going on with them. So by pulling in all of these different data types, you're able to get an analysis that's representative of what we're finding online. And the prompt here is analyze the recent competitive activity from this competitor and summarize the common objections raised by prospects. Highlight effective rebuttals used by sales reps and recommend updates for our pricing objection handling section in the MailChimp battle card. In this particular prompt, I used MailChimp. If you visit the AI toolkit, you'll see that we have real companies for these prompts. And so as you're checking them out, definitely take a look. The output for this one really came in and showed us the three main objections. And again, this is all data. It's not just call clips. It's all data across your competitor. So it's pulling in all of that online activity and comparing it with call clips. So we're getting those customer pain points through the lens of that whole company as well. So we've got the three main objections and then the rebuttals that could be used and ways that we could incorporate this into a battle card. I know battle cards can sometimes take a long time to create, but with prompts like these, and this is just the start, you can build quite a robust competitive enablement resource very quickly. Some additional use cases specifically for content creation are things like competitive news summaries. So whether it's once a week, you're reaching out and saying, hey, everybody, here's the top news from last week, keeping everybody's finger on the pulse of competitive updates. We also are seeing things like everyone knows we need to build slides and present things. So a SWOT analysis of your competitors, really breaking down their strengths and weaknesses and giving you content for outside of things like battle card. Another piece is the customer sentiment analysis. So whether you're looking at reviews or social media, it's going to give you the ability to understand like overall how are customers feeling about these competitors and where's an opportunity for you to go ahead and position yourself in a different light. And then last, we all know sometimes building those reports can take a lot of time. And if you're digging through data, it's not the most effective way to do it. So coming in and looking at the top data for your competitors and building out executive reports based on those specific interests is going to be another awesome use case for content creation. Now, these are all in that AI toolkit, but it's very much just the start of it all. So there's so many more prompts like these that we can find. But the last section to talk through is how to use AI prompts for like product strategy type things. So we want to make sure, especially as we're looking at things like GitHub updates and like release notes and product roadmaps, that we're able to really quickly identify what it all means and what it could potentially mean specifically for your product teams. Now, for this prompt, this is focused on technology and innovation. And this was actually created by one of our customer success managers here who had a customer who had extremely technical competitors, and they needed to really understand what coding, what software, all of these different, like very high tech, above my head type product details. They needed to understand where these companies were starting to put their resources. So through a prompt like this one, they were able to understand not just like the technical details or the investments that a company was making, but they were able to get ahead of launches and again, differentiate themselves as well. For this one, the prompt is provide a summarized response with a clear section for each key aspect. Start by listing any new technologies or innovations introduced by the competitor. Then include mentions of specific programming languages, frameworks, or tools referenced. Highlight hiring trends and forecast potential developments based on open roles. Finally, summarize any key technical terminology or messaging from their announcements. That's a hefty prompt, but it's a great way for you to really get that high level overview of what is happening specifically when it comes to like technology and innovation with your competitors. The output here really broke it down into each one of those sections. So we're able to kind of dig in and understand the new terminology that they're starting to use, specific hiring trends, and even region-based hiring trends. And overall, just like a great summary of technology and innovation. As we're thinking about your product team, there are some other use cases we're starting to see. So I've mentioned forecasting a couple times, but when it comes to product development, getting an idea of what's going on with your competitors and staying in the loop about their consistent product updates or recent launches, or even small keywords that they're starting to use can really help you start to understand and kind of move in a different way that helps you stand out. The output I just showed you highlighted the regions of specific roles. We're seeing this become a more popular use case here. So we're able to really dig in and say, where is a company hiring and understand like the motivations behind something like that. And then looking at not just like company differentiators, but specific product differentiators. So really digging into a competitor's integration options or the programming frameworks that they use. There's a lot of really technical details that you can uncover with prompts like these. And then last is really tracking those industry shifts. As we start to look at prompts like these and using them over time, the patterns that you're going to be able to highlight are going to really stand out and allow you to understand how your product roadmap should be informed. Now, I'm very excited to go ahead and shift over to John, our SVP of product. But just a quick reminder, AI is definitely transforming competitive intelligence, and there is so many different ways to start to explore how you can use this. There's so many different platforms, there's so many different approaches, and we're excited to continue to share AI with the CI community. With that, wait, I've got a cooking pun for us. Let's pass it off to John White, SVP of Product, and see what he's got cooking over here at Crayon.
I wish I'd known the pun thing. I could have come up with many, many dad jokes for this. But so I haven't got any jokes for you all, but I do have some product roadmap. Thank you very much. I'm John. I'm the head of product here. It's great to see so many of you that I've already met in the chat, and then lots of names I don't recognize as well. I think it's probably worth mentioning that this webinar we have a solid mix of Crayon customers and then maybe some people who are looking at evaluating Crayon. Maybe you're not using competitive tools today. I do want to emphasize that we've given away this toolkit and all of the recipes that Shannon just went through. That is something that anyone can access. You can find that on our website. Um, and you can run some of these recipes inside regular AI tools. I'm going to show you why we believe it's much better to do that inside Crayon, but we are giving away all these recipes for free. And while we're on that, I would say one of the questions I get asked a lot by customers and prospects is like, what's the kind of the difference between all the different types of AI tool available today? Because I think that this was just kind of coming to mind while you were talking, Shannon, is, even if you look back, say, 6 months, even if you just look at, say, OpenAI's lineup of products, I think probably 6 months ago they had ChatGPT, DALL-E, maybe that was it. And in the last 6 months, they've launched new models. They've launched like O1 and O3 reasoning. They've launched Operator. They've launched Deep Research. And, a lot that's actually the same for a lot of the AI companies out there. I think what's happening is um, the foundational models and maybe have even plateaued a little bit, and there's not a ton of innovation left there. So now now companies are starting to innovate in the user experience, but I think it's actually making the landscape quite confusing for end users. What I would say, if you are trying to run any of these recipes that Shannon went through today, and you're trying to run them on a like a standard AI, not inside Crayon, I would recommend that you use either ChatGPT with the 4.0 model or Anthropic Claude with the Sonnet model. Those are the ones that I think I've seen perform best at this kind of analysis of large data sets. Now, we're going to show you some stuff in Crayon because we've actually built ways for you to do all of this in our product too. And I think the benefit of using a custom built compete product like Crayon is that, I think you would all agree with me that this is about much more than just analysis. I think with a product like Crayon, you get the data integration. We pull, 100 different data types to make analysis straightforward. I can show you how that works in a second. We help you with content creation. We help you with publish mechanisms. We have integrations with all of the sales tech platforms. Like, I think the foundational models, ChatGPT, they're really good at the analysis. We use their APIs in our Sparks feature. But at the end of the day, none of this really matters unless your sales reps are using this data to win more deals, or unless you are driving decision making in your organization. So I think it's important to focus on the overall kind of workflow of this too. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to talk you through some of the stuff that we've been building and some of the stuff that is coming up over the next few months. I think the first thing I would say is I don't think it would be any surprise for me to say to this audience that competitive intelligence, competitive enablement has always been a very high value but a very labor intensive kind of program. And I think that product marketers and those of you that are on dedicated intelligence teams, historically you've had to spend hours and hours analyzing data, finding themes, researching intel, and then once you've done that, you actually got to go and create the content, and then you've got to keep the content up to date, etc. There's a lot there. Honestly, the number one blocker that we see to companies running successful compete programs is people just don't have the time. And I think that to many teams, it's kind of felt unsustainable. There's so much data, there's so much changing. I have so many competitors. Like, how am I possibly going to kind of organize all of this data? Over the last year or so at Crayon, we have been mapping out a vision of what it looks like to use the latest advancements in AI technology to automate compete. And by the way, I just want to say up front, this is not about replacing product marketers or replacing CI teams. This is about making you AI powered. Okay, and we think there are opportunities across many different steps of the workflow to use AI to turn this kind of like data overload, overwhelmed feeling into actually something that runs really, really smoothly and, gets fast data out to your sales teams. Now, in September last year, so what was that, like 4 months ago now, 5 months ago, we launched the first version of the first piece of the puzzle, and it's a feature called Sparks. And if you're not familiar with this, what Sparks does is it allows you to take hundreds of different data types, different types of data, structured, unstructured, and run common analyses across these types really, really quickly. So basically, all of the recipes that Shannon just showed you, you could use a Spark to run. I'm going to just show you that for those of you who haven't seen this yet. So what I'm going to do here, I'm in Crayon. This is my insights feed. So this is where all my competitive data shows up. So in this demo instance, MailChimp is a competitor. So in our demo instance, we pretend we're an email marketing tool. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to run a win-loss analysis. And for those of you who have run win-loss analyses manually in the past, I've run many of them myself, you will know it's quite an intense process. You have to look at lots of different data types. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to automate this. And to do that, I'm going to select a few different data types. So I'm going to choose my win-loss interviews. I'm also going to choose my Salesforce opportunity won, opportunity lost. Notes. I'm going to use my gong call clips as well. And you know what? I'm going to pull that out to 90 days. Okay, so I've got a bunch of data here now that represents kind of win-loss data, but it's very raw. Okay, if I was going to go and analyze this manually, I'd have to probably use a lot of sticky notes. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to use a Spark to analyze this. So I'm going to create a Spark, and I'm just going to choose a template here. I'm going to choose a win-loss analysis template. Now, what's happening behind the scenes there is that we are taking all of that different data and we are running that through a series of AI prompts, very similar to the recipe that Shannon just showed. And you will see here in a few seconds, I have a win-loss analysis. That's something that would normally take marketers, at least a few hours to do. We've also recently launched this feature where we'll show you kind of examples of, why we've called out specific themes. So we're kind of putting a bit of attribution behind the AI to give it a bit more trust. And like that's just one of many, as Shannon showed. There are many different ways we can use this, but this is the feature that we launched, back in September to help our customers solve this problem. Now, I think that we always knew that this was step one of many, let's say. But I think it is kind of important to explain why we began there. Like, why did we think it was important to help customers kind of aggregate and synthesize their data first? Well, if you think about the overall kind of competitive enablement or revenue enablement workflow, and I know this is a very simplified diagram, but it looks a little bit like this. You kind of collect all your data, you synthesize it, you publish some content, your sales team use it, they win some deals, you measure it, etc. Maybe you might have different audience as well. This is just the seller flow. The reason we started here was because one, we felt like this was the biggest bottleneck, and our customers and the market would tell us that that's the biggest bottleneck. But also, if you have a break in the system here, because this workflow goes from left to right, it impacts everything downstream. So it impacts the quality and frequency and freshness of your content, which then therefore impacts sales adoption, which then therefore impacts win rate, etc. But I would also say, to reiterate the point, none of this matters unless sales reps are using this data to win more deals. So we always knew that to really impact win rates, we need to go beyond just helping you research and organize the data and actually help teams kind of organize this entire process, including content publishing. What we hear from customers is that content freshness is one of the biggest inhibitors of sales adoption, aka when a sales rep goes to a battle card and it hasn't been updated for 3 months, the natural reaction is not to trust the data. And customers still spend way too much time on battle card edits. So I speak to so many teams who are on monthly or even quarterly data updates, like content update schedules, and yearn to be able to make more frequent updates, but it's just a lot of work. Anyway, I would like to share with you today that we're about to launch the next phase of our kind of Sparks, our AI roadmap. And over the next few weeks, we are going to be shipping our Sparks content release to all of our customers. I know some of you have a sneak preview of this already, but this is going live to all customers over the course of the next couple of weeks. So what are we shipping? Well, firstly, we are building a feature called Automated Sparks. So instead of you having to run those analyses and those recipes manually every time, you can actually automate some of them. So for me, I have an automated Spark set up in Crayon that looks at all of the gong calls that happened in the last week and tells me any new or interesting themes that I might want to be aware of. You know, you could do the same thing for news. You could do the same thing for win-loss. Really, any of those recipes that Shannon showed, you can automate. Once we run those automated sparks, you get emails like this. This is what I call a quick summary. So this is a daily summary of won and lost deals. So I get one of these, and I can also configure this to be sent to other people. So if you know your CEO, your VP of sales wants updates, you can have these sparks sent to those people. The next thing we're doing, and this is kind of the crux of it, is we're making it kind of really simple and automated to take content that exists in a Spark and then publish that directly to your sales team. So that works a couple of different ways. This is an example of Sparks being published directly into battle cards. Okay, so that will be a new flow from Sparks. And the other one is posting Sparks directly into Compete Hub. Okay, so you'll be able to take a Spark and then directly publish that out to your team. And then, and this is really cool, this is one of, I think, probably one of the cooler innovations that's come out of our engineering team. We're also going to give you the ability to update battle card tiles using AI suggestions. So how this works is that you will be able to go to a battle card tile, you'll be able to say, look for updates, and we're going to go through your Sparks and maybe even your insights at some point, but initially your Sparks, and we're going to tell you changes that you might want to make on this battle card tile. Okay, so if you think about piecing all these things together, you think about what it takes to update content today. Now what's going to happen is you're going to get a Spark show up in your inbox on a Monday morning. You're going to click on that Spark. You're maybe going to share it with someone. You're going to go to your battle card tile. You're going to hit update, and you're going to see a bunch of update suggestions. So maybe you can get that quarterly content freshness policy down to weekly. We are also building all of the recipes that Shannon showed earlier on directly into the product. So if you are a Crayon customer, you won't need to copy and paste any of those into the product. You're just going to have a one-click way of running those. I know someone in the chat earlier on asked if there was like a quick way to run these against all competitors. Yeah, you're going to be able to click on each of these analyses. You don't even have to select the insights, just select the competitor, and we'll create sparks for those. And if you want, you can have those running on a periodic basis using automated sparks as well. And all of this is on top of a bunch of stuff that we've released recently as well. So content attribution, you can now create table output in Sparks. We now recognize images. You probably noticed that we've got page change summaries as well. So a lot of really cool stuff going on.